We're here with Brian Burris, and he's going to have a show at the Davis Gallery. He's dropping off his paintings today. The show is called Fire and Night.
Yes.
It opens on what day?
16th.
The 16th of February. And we start by telling us a little bit about the body of the work that is in this show.
Okay.
When it was made, and just general information about it.
Let's see, I think there's 23 pieces, and they were, except for 3 pieces, all of them were painted in the last year. I was in the studio maybe 3 times a week. Normally I go in once a month, paint something. This was a frenzy of painting. So they all kind of share a common theme, common composition. So it's got a really strong narrative, and I'm pretty excited by the fact that I'm getting 23 paintings in one show, as opposed to the normal 10 paintings or so, because it really allows the viewer to get immersed in the paintings and the storyline.
Do you work on one painting at a time, or do you work on multiple?
I try to work on one at a time, because it really bothers me to work on 3 at a time. Because they're undone, so I go to bed thinking, I got to do this.
You'll finish it first.
Yeah, I go to sleep over it, so I try to do one, get it done. But I'm not against going back 6 months later and saying, this still needs a little something, and hitting it again.
Will you tell us a little bit about the common themes in this group of paintings?
It's kind of like a metaphor for existence, from childhood to adolescence to the whole turmoil of that period, and then finally coming to say self-realization and basically peace of mind after that. So it's a metaphor for the day in the life, I guess.
What's the greatest challenge you've come across in working on your paintings? What's the most difficult part of the process?
It's tiring. The process itself is cathartic, but it drains the hell out of me. So for like the last year being in the studio, it drained the hell out of me. My kid's like, "Geez, you never see Dad." But it's tiring, I know, like David Lynch, for example, says, how can you be tired of creating? It's like, I don't know, it just saps the energy out of me. But that ties into the whole conceit of my website on how you keep a piece of yourself in the painting and whatnot. So,
Great, thanks. Is there anything about your painting technique that you think is noteworthy or should be maybe something you do that's a little bit unusual?
Oh, I definitely have an unusual technique. I'm self-taught, which means somebody handed me a box of paints and said, "Here, paint." And I was like 15 years old when that happened. So for the last 30 years or so, I've been beating up acrylics. I don't paint with the standard brush strokes. I diffuse the paint probably past what people would paint with acrylics would do. And I diffuse them with chemicals, enzymes, mechanically. So you have to put them down in layers. You apply the next layer, so you got to consider how diffusing that layer is going to bring out the bottom layer. So it's almost like Japanese printmaking as opposed to the traditional brush stroke painting. So it's definitely broad strokes and pre-planning, but a large element is chance, because you're working so wet, and the processes of themselves play with the way the paint's going to dry, that you sort of you approach it with a general idea, and the painting takes on a life of its own from there.
So I was just going to ask you about that, which is, do you have a solid idea of what you think it's going to look like when it's done? Or
I do more now. It used to be more I'd approach it, throw paint. I'd be like, wow, look at what came up. But now it's more going with an idea composition. And usually it carries through well enough, and I know which colors are going to contrast against each other. But then it chooses to come out the way I want it to. I just have to work with what it is. And usually I'm surprised at the result and happy with the result. If I'm not happy with it, it doesn't make it to the show. So it gets just over
So, when people look at an artist's work, they usually come up with, their interpretation of it or their ideas about what the painting is about or who the artist is or what the artist's
Both.
work is about.
Right.
Are there any kind of common misconceptions about
Oh, absolutely.
your art you
I
want
just
to
got
clear
done
up?
writing about that because I'm working on another book.
Sure.
But a lot of people say, oh, it's the trauma you see on the fire department. Oh, I see it in his paintings. It's like, no, that's not it. It'd be too easy to play that guy. Plus, I was painting 30 years ago. I'd only been on the fire department for 15. I used to work at the jail and say, oh, I see it. I see all that, that violence. It's like, no, that's got nothing to do with it. It's all, it's like Rothko said, he strove to paint primary emotions like doom and sorrow and all this. And that's just where I'm coming from. It's sort of a melancholy romanticism. But I'd say it goes back to childhood and just art in general being an escapist thing. To be honest, but usually I'm not honest. Usually I lie. And, come up with some hocus pocus about, there's a third unknown element that sort of in the painting creates of itself, and start quoting Hillman about paintings being sold and whatnot. So I'm actually finally knuckling down and getting honest about how I paint, which has to start with why I paint. It involves tonalism. I don't know if you study tonalism. Just using hue and color and ambiguous line form and whatnot to create emotional states, coupled with my abstracts and minimalists, which basically gives the viewer a blank slate to sort of project their own images on. So some people tend to see what they want to see, as you were asking. Especially people who've had some kind of traumatic history. A lot of nurses, a lot of people in those professions, or a lot of people who have a history of abuse. They'll see the same sort of things that I see when I paint. So you get that content communicated, despite the fact that it's just a minimalist abstract, you're communicating the same emotion to somebody else, which I think is art's accomplished its goal if it's doing that, I think.
Great. As a self-taught artist, have you figured out most of your ideas and techniques just by doing and researching the artists that you're
Not
interested in?
researching, no. I never research artists unless someone goes, hey, that looks like a Rothko. And I looked up Rothko and I read a book on Rothko, which is great. If you like Rothko, read that. If somebody says, oh, that looks like, it has tonalist influence, oh, great, I gotta go look that up. So, and we were just talking in the parking lot about the 15th century Indian painter who paints color fields that look like Rothko's, and I was saying how it's amazing how people 5 centuries removed would still be painting the same images, and probably with the same intent. So you get into this whole Jungian archetype of color and shape. So what was your question?
I think you covered it. All right, so just one final question. Do you have a particular goal or place you're trying to get with your paintings? Not necessarily like in terms of selling a lot of them, but in terms of the actual process of the paintings. Are they going somewhere different? Is there somewhere different you would like them to go, or something that you're trying to achieve?
I had stopped painting for 7 years because painting doesn't really pay the bills. And I have a family and a car and a house and all that happy stuff. So I took a break from painting, which is kind of antithetical to knuckling down, getting involved and making money and whatnot. Came back from it after the warehouse fire. I painted like 40 paintings in 3 months. And my style shifted from like abstract expressionism to a more minimal style. So I've been exploring that for say the last 6 years. This show actually I'm pretty damn happy with, as far as it expresses what I wanted it to express. In the book that accompanies the show, I've elucidated a little bit with quotes, but it really communicates the message I wanted it to. We'll see if the viewers feel the same way. So I'm feeling good about this series museum show. And that was sort of my goal, was to start hitting the museums. You know, and luckily, I was included in a tripartite show coming up in August. So I'm kind of accomplishing goals. But the painting itself is, it satisfies its own need. Like the whole selling and showing part, that's nice. But it's an entirely separate function, you know?
Sure.
So, like I said, it's nice to be well received. But, yeah, I guess with painting things going around the wall, lose my angst if they just keep going along. So.
All right, well, thanks for taking the time out to talk to us. It was great.
Pleasure.
I hope everyone comes on down to the opening on the 15th. Should be a great show.
16th.